Welcome back to the vlog. Today we're off to Capital Casino to play in a 1-3 game. It was a very wild and splashy 1-3 game. The type of game where you can win a lot of money if you hold some cards. So I had a lot of hands pre-flop and enough to be calling the raises or putting in a raise in certain spots, and getting excellent pot odds for the way the game was playing. I played a lot of pocket pairs. I only hit one set all day long. I played a lot of ace queens, ace kings, suited cards, suited connectors. Basically, I missed a lot of those hands. And then when I did pick up some premium hands, I really got, well, you'll see. Anyway, sit back, relax, enjoy. Be thankful it wasn't your money. Here we go. We got a great response from this question that was asked about whether to c-bet top set or to check it in this particular case. Most of you decided that a c-bet is the way to go. Some of you believe that the check was all right. Someone ran it through a solver and it came up with a check was the optimal play, but that's for games that are better balanced. Most 1-3 games are not balanced. They're going to just pay you off. So I feel in a passive 1-3 game, you got to c-bet this thing every time. I really appreciate the feedback. You guys are great. We're at Capital Casino today, playing a 1-3 Hold'em, buy-in for $300. And the lineup looks pretty good. We have some action players in there. First hand we end up playing is Ace King of Clubs. We're in the big blind. We got two limpers for $3. I raised 20 more and both of them call. So we go three ways to a flop with 69 in. Flop is Ace Jack 9. One club. I decided to bet a little bit on the bigger side here. I think it's a mistake. I should probably be betting closer to 25 or 30 in this spot with my c-bets, so it will disguise my entire c-betting range. But as played, I bet 40 and they both quickly fold. This hand, a player opens for a raise to my direct right. I decided to call with my ace queen of clubs. The button and both blinds end up calling also, so we go five ways to a flop of 8-4-4 with one club. It gets checked to me and I decided to check it, and the button checks behind. Turn card is interesting. It's a 2 of clubs. So we pick up the nut flush draw. Now the original raiser bets out for 22. I don't really think he's that strong here, so I decided to put him to the test. I raised to 72. The button and both blinds fold fairly quickly, and now it comes back around to the original raiser. He thinks for a while, and I'm beginning to think he has some sort of small pocket pair, maybe a hand like ace king, and he thinks I'm getting out of line, but he finally releases it. The game was slightly passive at this time, so I decided to open up with a raise with pocket fours in middle position. The hijack, the cutoff, and the button all put in the call for the 15. And then the small blind, who has a very short stack, just jams the rest of his chips in. I've seen him do this multiple times with ace high, and he's just trying to maximize his equity by just shoving at this point. I don't want to call here, and I can't even think about folding. So the only option I see I have is to go ahead and put in a little re-raise to isolate him. So I raised to 90. When I do this, I expect that most of the hands, if not all of them, would fold out, and I would be playing this small pair against the small blind with a bunch of dead money in the pot. The person in the hijack now goes into the tank. He has a very short stack also, maybe $50 or $60 left. And finally he just decides to put it in, and it looks like we're going to get at least a three-way pot. The cutoff now goes into the tank, and he asks for a count. So the dealer gives him a count and lets him know it's $90. And he thinks for quite some time. And while he was thinking, I'm sure some of you would go over and like and subscribe. That would be great. Anyway, he finds the fold button, and so does the person on the button. They also fold. And we're going to head three ways to a flop with two players all in, one for $27 and the other one for about $60. So we have a $220 pot. Praying that my pair will stand up, but I'm obviously not high hopes of that. The flop comes 10, 3, 6, turns a 7, river a king, nothing good for me. I show him my pair of fours, one shows jacks, and the small blind had ace 7 offsuit. So I open for a raise to 14 and get three callers. One person in the hijack, one in the cutoff, and the other on the button. So with 56 in, we see a flop. Flop comes 5, 10, 5 with one club. It's a pretty decent flop as long as no one has a 5. I decide to c-bet for 20. Person in the hijack folds. Person in the cutoff who has a very short stack puts in the call. The button folds. The turn card comes is a 4. I like my hand. He has a very short stack, so I decided to go with it. Just put him in. He has like 20 something dollars left. He tells me he has a full house, and I told him the full house was good. So we've been pretty card dead for an hour or so, and we're picking up some playable hands now. We're just missing everything. Finally, we pick up a pair of kings in the small blind. We have two limpers, and it comes around to the cutoff, who has a short stack. He puts in a raise to 16. The person on the button calls the 16. So when it comes to us, we decide to make it 66. Figuring that the two limpers will definitely be out, then we'll be up against a short stack and the button with a very strong hand. But what ends up happening is everybody comes along for the ride. So we go 5 ways to a flop with 330 in the pot. Now the flop is as dry as you can get. Jack 7 deuce. So unless someone flopped a set here, I think I'm in really good shape. Hoping to get some action from someone with a jack. I lead out for 110. First person folds. Second limper goes ahead and puts in the call for 110. I'm putting him on some sort of jack. The original raiser folds, and now the button jams his stack of $300. So it's 190 more to me. There's 660 in the pot. And the only hand I'm really scared of here is pocket 7s. That's definitely in his range from the way the hand's been played. But I've seen him do the same move with top pair in the last 2 hands he showed down. He would get top pair and then just jam it. So I can't get away from this hand. I re-jam to isolate. The other person with a jack with a kicker, I don't want him to get a draw at it. So we go heads up for a run out. The run out's a queen and an ace. Not good. I turn over my 2 kings and he shows 2 jacks and takes down this pot. So as you can tell, the action's really starting to pick up. I've had a few hands like these, with king, queen, pocket fives, all of them missing. I had tens a few times in a row, no help. Only thing I'm doing is putting in money and then folding on the flop. This hand I had the straddle on with 6-5. Someone puts in a min raise, and so I defend with 6-5. And we get a pretty good flop of 6-4-6. I decided to check it to the initial better. He's short on chips and puts in a bet of 45. The person on the button calls. Then the small blind kind of crossed the line with his chips, and then he decided to muck his hand, so we had to get a floor man over to make a decision. Anyway, when it comes back to me, I go ahead and I just put in the call here, trying to disguise the strength of my hand, maybe make it look like some sort of straight draw. Turn card comes as a king of diamonds. I check again. Now the original better also checks, and now the person on the button bets out $50. He doesn't get out of line too much, so I'm really concerned about the strength of his hand. I'm hoping that he has just a 6, but it's beginning to think like he has pocket 4s. I decided I needed a call in this spot because I under-repped my hand so much, and we go see a river card of an ace of hearts. I check again, and he quickly bets $100, and I go into the tank, and I really think he has pocket 4s here, and I'm thinking, okay, if he had a 6, my kicker doesn't play now unless he had ace 6 or king 6. I should be pretty good, but I keep on coming back that he has 4s. And finally, I decided to put in the call. I hate my call here. I probably could have saved $100. And sure enough, he turns over pocket 4s. I decided to open for a raise to 28, since none of my other raises were being respected. And only the person on the button calls. He's an aggressive player and likes to take things away when you check to him. So when I get a flop of king 7-3 with all spades, I check my ace king with the ace of spades to him, and he kindly bets out $30. I go ahead and flat call him here. Turn card comes as a blank deuce of diamonds. I check again, and he leads again, this time for 65. I only have about $100 left in my stack after I put in a call, so I decided to go ahead and jam. It might have been better just to go ahead and call again and see if he would fire the end, because I can't really imagine he has too much. But he did go into a tank for quite some time, trying to decide whether I had anything at this point. Of course, I'm really rooting for a call. I haven't won too many pots today, and I finally have the board pretty locked up. Whether he has a hand or whether he's drawn to one, I'm in good shape. He does decide on a fold, which was okay in my book because it was a long time between pots. After another long drought of non-playable hands or playable hands that completely missed the flop, I looked down at king, queen of spades in the cutoff and put in a raise to 36 after 4 limpers on a straddle pot. The first 3 limpers put in the call for the 36, and the fourth one decides 36 was not quite enough, and he puts in a raise for 100 more. I was trying to figure out what kind of hands he would be doing this with. What I came up with was either he has some sort of middling pocket pair, or perhaps a ace high with some sort of flush draw, maybe an ace jack, ace 10, something like that. So since I can't really put him on a hand like an ace king, ace queen, I figure either king or queen would be good, but yet I'm behind all his hands he would be raising with. And I'm not too concerned about the players behind because I don't think any of them have an ace king, ace queen, so I figure if I hit a king or a queen, my kicker will be good. So I just put in the call for the 100 more, hoping to get some overcalls. And sure enough, we get 2 callers behind me. So 4 ways to a flop with 580 in. I'm already mentally committed to this pot. There isn't much that can come on this that I'm not going to put the remaining $97 in the middle. It gets checked to the player who re-raised to 100, and he decides to bet out 125. Of course, I call. I only have 97 left, and it looks like it's going to be a $700 or $800 pot. With 6 outs in my mind that are clean, and I could pick up some sort of turn card like a 9 or a jack to give me additional equity. The next player folds, and the second caller ends up putting in the call. So we have a 3-way pot to the turn for $871 in the main and another $56 on the side. If I had a 1 time left, I probably would use it, but I used up my 1 time about 5 years ago, so I'm just going to hope the Hold'em gods have something in store for me, like a king or a queen. The dealer had a little problem with the side pot. I gave him a suggestion, and everything's squared away now. Turn card comes as a deuce of clubs, and it gets checked around. The river card comes as a beautiful king of diamonds. I'm pretty sure I'm good here. They both end up checking it. The initial bettor never showed his hand, but he said he had a flush draw and a gut shot straight draw, so I'm thinking he had some sort of like ace jack of hearts perhaps. The person that wins the side pot had pocket 6s and called all the way down. He got rivered by me when I caught the king. So the action started slowing down a bit. I looked down here at pocket 4s. It was a straddle pot. I just go ahead and call a limper for 7. We end up going 5 ways to a flop. And after 6.5 hours of play, I finally hit my first set when all the action was dried up. Anyway, it was 9-4-9. It gets checked to me. I put out a small bet of 15, hoping to get some action from a flush draw, or perhaps maybe find somebody with a 9. The player directly behind me puts in the call. I'm hoping they have a 9 at this point. So we're off to see a turn. Turn card is an 8 of diamonds. I decided to check it here, which is a mistake. I should just continue to bet away. And he puts in the bet for 20. At this point, I should be check raising, but I don't. I'm playing this horribly, and I just put in the call. The river card comes as an ace. I decided to lead at this now for 45, trying to make it look like maybe I missed a flush draw, and that if he had a 9, he might put in a raise, but he doesn't. Anyway, I butchered this hand really bad, and after I drugged this small pot, I decided to leave. There was one other hand I didn't get on tape. It was I had ace queen of diamonds in the blind. I raised pre-flop and got 2 callers. The flop came jack 10 8 with the jack 8 of diamonds. So I flopped a nut flush draw, 2 overcards, and a double gutter. Anyway, I ran into a man that had queen 9 of hearts who flopped the nut straight, and I proceeded to lose my entire stack to him, and he was very happy about that. So if it wasn't for the king queen of spades hand, I probably would end up losing $1,500 on the day. Instead, I made a small comeback. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next week. I know this was a ugly session, and there's probably not much to learn from this one. But my mother always told me there'll be days like today, and this was one of them. Anyway, take care. We'll see you next time.